In a previous episode, we talked about the cost of buying a home. Go back and check that episode out if you haven't watched it yet. But today we're going to talk about selling a home. So before you ever even list your home, there are some costs that you may incur. And these are the costs of getting your home ready. So I'm not going to go into a big detail and unpack those things that you need to do. We also have a video for that. But what I want to talk today about are the costs. So you are going to want to do any miscellaneous repairs. And so typically for sellers, I see these add up to anywhere from a few bucks up to a couple hundred. You may pay for a cleaner to come in and properly clean your home. And then you may end up deciding you want to buy some little decorating things to spruce it up. Now, we help with staging, but if there are things that you want to do for that, you're going to want to account for those costs. The next kind of the biggest thing that sellers focus on for costs are commissions. I'm not going to unpack what those are today. That's something we do when we meet, but just know you do have agent fees for selling your home. The next fee that you're going to want to consider are the other closing costs for the home. So some of the big ones in there, transfer taxes. You have state and county transfer taxes, and that is a responsibility per our contracts for the seller to cover. Another thing within there is title insurance. So if the buyer's using a lender, they provide a lender title policy, but you as the seller also provide a seller's policy. Another thing is property taxes. So you may have already paid your taxes, you likely have, but at the end of the sale, right before the sale, the title company is going to go through and they're going to prorate the taxes based on the number of days you lived in the home. So you may be getting a credit back to you, or you may be paying a portion. So just know that the property taxes for the year are going to be evened out at closing. Within closing costs, you also will have a closing fee. This is a fee for the title company to actually conduct the closing, as well as miscellaneous fees like recording or if you want your funds wired to you. So just know that there are several costs involved in this sort of umbrella of closing costs to sell your home. Another cost that you may or may not incur is a survey. If the buyer asks in their offer for you to pay for a survey and you agree to it, this can range anywhere from a few $100s up to, I would say, around $1,500. You might have outlier certain types of properties that are more, but in general, that's the range you're looking at and are going to want to consider if that's something you agree to in the contract. The next cost is one, again, kind of like the survey that doesn't apply to everyone, and that's a well and septic inspection. So if you are on city water or city sewer, this doesn't apply to you, but if you are on well and septic, you will have to provide a well and septic inspection to your buyer. This can range anywhere from about $200 to probably about $375, somewhere in there, depending on if you're doing just the well, just septic, or if you have both. The next cost, again, is one that may or may not apply to you, and that's capital gains taxes. If you've owned your home for more than 2 years, you likely will not have to pay capital gains taxes. If you have owned your home for less than 2 years, however, and depending on a variety of other factors of which I'm not going to get into because I'm not an accountant and it's not my place to tell you about them, but just know if you've owned your home for less than 2 years, you could have capital gains taxes. And in that situation, I am always going to recommend that you speak to an accountant. And if you don't have one, I am happy to provide you with a list of vendors that can help you to figure out if that's a cost you're going to incur or not. Now, this last cost is one that everybody forgets about. Some of you remember, but most of you don't, and that is moving costs. So now that you've gotten your home sold, now that you've gotten to closing day, you've got to get your stuff out somehow. So moving costs can range anywhere from a couple $100, borrowing a friend's truck and providing beer and pizza on moving day, up to a few $1,000s if you are hiring a professional moving company. So this is one that you're just going to want to figure out what type of move do you want to make, how hands-on do you want to be? Do you want to go the less expensive route, but you have to be more hands-on? Or do you want to have sort of that white glove experience where the movers come in and take care of it for you? That's your choice, but just know that you're going to have to pay moving costs whichever way you go. As you've heard me talk about all these things, I imagine at this point your overwhelm is just rising, 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 rising. I don't want you to be overwhelmed though. The biggest takeaway here for you to remember is that other than commissions, there are costs involved with selling your home. Now, I am here to walk you through the process every step of the way to make sure you're prepared and that you're not feeling that sense of overwhelm. So what we need to do next, if you're thinking about selling, is to sit down and unpack what the experience will be like for you, all the costs, all of the projects involved, everything that you need to know about selling a home. That's what I'm here to help with. So reach out today if I can do so.